Hey everyone, it's Johnny here from Hot Take Hockey to give you a little bit of a different video. I'm going to be using sportsnews.com's website to talk about the remaining UFAs along with all the signings that have gone down. So you see right off the bat, we have Anaheim Ducks here, and then we're going to go on with each team. So the Anaheim Ducks, you see Derek Grant, Corbinian Holzer, Ryan Miller, new contracts. Chad Johnson, still a UFA, and he could be signed as a backup goaltender. Moving on to the Arizona Coyotes, you see the Coyotes, Josh Archibald signed with the Edmonton Oilers, Nick Cousins with the Canadiens, Richard Panik with the Capitals, and then obviously Lawson Krause re-signed, no UFAs there. Boston Bruins, Danton Heinen signed, Noel Acciari with the Panthers, Marcus Johansson with the Sabres, and then obviously McAvoy and Carlos still RFA, so we've talked a lot about that. And then Lee Stepniak, the vet, a UFA currently. The Buffalo Sabres, Gergensen re-signed, Larson re-signed, Evan Rodriguez awarded a 1-year, $2 million contract. Jason Pominville, the vet, still a UFA. Of course, Jake McCabe, who might get a promotion to the top 4. Obviously, the Sabres' defense are crowded this year. Calgary Flames, so Mangiapane, still an RFA. Hathaway signed with the Capitals. Matthew Tkachuk still an RFA. That's a big question mark. Sam Bennett signed a 2-year, $5.1 million contract. Vandenberg signed with the Canucks. Dalton Prout with the Sharks. Riddick signed a 2-year, $5.5 million. He'll share the pipes with Cam Talbot. Mike Smith, of course, left for the Oilers. Smith and Talbot switched places. Curtis Lazar with the Sabres, 1-year, $700K. Kirby Reichel, that's another one. That was an interesting one. Traded from the Leafs to the Blue Jackets. He's been kind of on an adventure and no qualifying offer, so he is a UFA. The Hurricanes, Aho, his offer sheet was matched by the Hurricanes from the Montreal Canadiens. Brock McGinn signed a 2-year, $4.1 or $4.2 million extension, and Justin Williams still a UFA. We'll see if he'll return as the captain. And then the big loss, Michael Furland, 4 years, $14 million. So Vancouver Canucks picked up Michael Furland, but obviously the Carolina Hurricanes picked up DeZingle. They re-signed Mrazek. They lost McElhinney, though, to the Lightning. That might be a big loss. Chicago Blackhawks. So Chris Kunitz retired. Marcus Kruger is still a UFA. That's an interesting one. That could fill a fourth-line spot. Brendan Perlini is still an RFA. And obviously the Blackhawks have made a lot of moves, whether it's trading Gustav Forsling. They traded Cahoon to the Pittsburgh Penguins. John Quinville, who they acquired from the New Jersey Devils. So the Avalanche now. Colin Wilson signed a 1-year, $2.6 million extension. Andrew Ghetto, no qualifying offer, so he became a UFA. Kerfoot, obviously, with Tyson Barrie traded to the Leafs. Kamenev signed a 1-year, $750,000 contract. He'll battle for a spot, as well as Nichushkin signed with the Avalanche. JT Compher signed a 4-year, $14 million extension. Mikko Rantanen, an RFA. We've talked a lot about him. Gabriel Bork, a UFA as well. Patrick Nemeth left for the Red Wings. Zadorov re-signed, and Varlamov left for the Islanders. Now, the Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets lost a lot. Ryan DeZingle to the Hurricanes, like I said. Matt Duchene to the Preds. Panarin to the Rangers. Eric Robinson just accepted his qualifying offer. We might see him get in a few games. Sedlak is still an RFA. The Blue Jackets will have to figure that situation out. Obviously, that will be a shorter term, lower amount. But Adam McQuaid, UFA, that was a depth piece they acquired before the deadline. I wonder if he signs a deal. And Zach Werenski, still an RFA. So one of a few defensemen, top defensemen that are still an RFA. But they did get some contracts done, whether it was Scott Harrington or Ryan Murray. Keith Kincaid did leave for the Habs. Now the Dallas Stars. So Brett Ritchie left for the Boston Bruins. Jason Spezza left for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Matt Zuccarello left for the Minnesota Wild. So they still have some free agents to kind of figure out. Will Mark Mathot come back from injury and play this year? Will Ben Lovejoy sign a contract? So a couple defensemen there that could find their way into a bottom pair role. Ben Lovejoy as recent as last year, was probably their fourth best defenseman. And then Honka's RFA, that's an interesting situation. He really hasn't found himself with Stars in a consistent role. And then, of course, Nichushkin with the buyout did sign with the Avs. Red Wings. So let's scroll back up to the Red Wings. Nicholas Kronwall, will he retire? Thomas Vanek in a similar situation, but I feel like he still could go another year in the NHL. The Edmonton Oilers, Chason re-signed 2 years, $4.3 million. Kara re-signed as well, but Puljujarvi, that situation is still pretty interesting. And the Florida Panthers, of course, Malgin is an RFA. A couple of UFAs that could find lower term deals would be Troy Brouwer and Jamie McGinn. Riley Sheahan was an interesting option for the Penguins last year. Obviously, it didn't work out, but he could find a spot in a bottom 6 role on an NHL team. So we're going to skip a few. LA Kings, they're obviously rebuilding. Adrian Kempe is definitely one to look at in terms of RFA. Minnesota Wild, Ryan Donato, that was a key signing. But Kevin Fiala and Joel Eriksson-Ek are two names to look out for. Pontus Aberg did leave for the Leafs. Montreal Canadiens, Jordy Ben to the Canucks. Lehkonen re-signed, Hudon re-signed, Armia re-signed, Mike Riley re-signed. Good depth pieces there. Nashville Predators, Colton Sisson signed a 7-year, $20 million contract. That one was huge. Wayne Simmons signed with the Devils, 1 year, $5 million. Brian Boyle still a UFA. Cody McLeod still a UFA. Zach Ronaldo is still a UFA. So fourth liners there. Brian Boyle we've seen play in bigger roles. He is getting older though. Kenny Agostino signed with the Leafs. Pavel Zacha still an RFA. Drew Stafford a UFA. So that one would be interesting again for a bottom 6 role. Will Butcher signed that recent contract, 3 years, $11.2 million. New York Islanders, but Villiers is still an RFA, and they've got a couple veteran UFAs, Lucas Spiza, Dennis Seidenberg, Valtteri Filppula signed to the Red Wings, 2 years, $6 million, and Robin Lehner, that was the big one, signed with the Blackhawks, 1 year, $5 million. Let's keep going. Next up, the New York Rangers. So for the Rangers, this one was obviously interesting. They were kind of in a rebuilding mode, but then they made a few moves that might speed up the process, whether it was acquiring Jacob Trouba or signing Artemi Panarin. Brendan Lemieux is still an RFA, who they acquired from the Jets. They did sign Buchnevich to a 2-year, $6.5 million contract. And they still have D'Angelo, who is going to be a good piece in their top 4 as an RFA. Clayson's an interesting one also. They didn't qualify him, so he is a UFA. Ottawa Senators now. The Sens, so they're kind of in a rebuilding mode. Obviously, if you look at the Sens, Oscar Lindbergh, Megas Puljujarvi, both UFAs. The only thing I would say about the Sens is because Eugene Melnyk thinks that they can actually compete here with their younger players. But they definitely are in a rebuilding mode. Cody Ceci traded to the Leafs. Colin White, that one, and I wanted to make that clear, he just signed for $4.5 million. So Colin White right there, signed for $4.5 per year, and that's the most recent signing, and that's what kind of stirred me to make this video. Brian Gibbons, 1 year, $725 with the Hurricanes. Philadelphia Flyers, Hartman traded to Dallas with no qualifying offers, so he signed with the Wild. Scott Laughton re-signed. Kevin Hayes, that big 7-year, $50 million extension. And obviously Provorov and Konechny still RFAs. Pittsburgh Penguins, Matt Cullen retired. They re-signed a couple players, bottom 6 players, Bluger, Ashton Reese, and Garrett Wilson did sign with the Leafs, 1 year, $725,000, and then Marcus Pettersson, RFA, and Jimmy Hayes, a UFA. San Jose Sharks, Kevin LeBanc signed that really cheap 1 year, $1 million extension. Donskoy left for the Avs. Michael Haley's UFA. Joe Pavelski, the captain, left for the Stars, and then Joe Thornton still a UFA. That's an interesting one, obviously. I think he would either return to the Sharks or retire. Nyquist left for the Blue Jackets. And Timo Meier and Tim Heed, two guys that will probably be consistent. Well, Timo Meier obviously in the top 6 for the forward group, but Tim Heed, now that Joakim Ryan's gone, could find a consistent role with the Sharks in their defense core. St. Louis Blues, Pat Maroon still a UFA. Ivan Barbashev, they're about $700K apart. Barbashev wants 1.3, or the Blues want 1.3 million, while Barbashev wants 2 million. So that's interesting. Fabry re-signed, Sanford re-signed, Sundqvist re-signed, Sammy Blais re-signed. Obviously, you're going to want to re-sign to the defending Stanley Cup champs. Binnington re-signed. No surprise there. Braden Point, an RFA, that's one of the big ones. Adam Ernie traded to the Red Wings, and he signed a 1-year, $1.05 million contract. Cedric Paquette re-signed. Dan Girardi still a UFA, and Anton Strawman left for the Panthers. That might be a big loss for Victor Hedman. And then the Leafs, very busy. Andreas Johnsson, Kasperi Kapanen, they all re-signed. Jake Gardner, still that UFA. We'll see what happens with him. And then Mitch Marner, the RFA. We're all waiting on Mitch Marner and for that to drop. And then we're almost done here. Vancouver Canucks, Josh Levo re-signed. Mott re-signed. Nikolai Goldobin still an RFA. Brock Besser still an RFA. And then the really interesting one, Ben Hutt, no qualifying offer. So he's one of the best remaining UFAs on today's market. And then we're getting to the end here. Vegas Golden Knights, William Karlsson re-signed to a pretty good deal in my opinion. Ryan Carpenter left for the Blackhawks. Belmar to the Avalanche. And they did re-sign quite a few players. Nosich, Englund, Malcolm Subban. But a sign-in trade did go down for Nikita Gusev. They wanted to keep Gusev, but the price range was too high for them. So Gusev got traded to the Devils, and he signed a 2-year deal with them. And the Washington Capitals, so Devontae Smith-Pelly, a UFA. Burakovsky traded the Avalanche, and he signed a 1-year, $3.25 million deal. Brett Conley, Panthers, 4 years, $13 million. And Vrana, he was an RFA, but they did re-sign him to a 2-year, $6.7 million deal. So last team here, the Winnipeg Jets. Brandon Tanev, the Penguins, 6 years, $21 million. A lot of people thought that was a lot. Par Lindholm to the Bruins, 2 years, $1.7 million. And obviously the RFAs, Patrick Laine, Kyle Connor. I mean, if you look at those two names, but you look at the other, you losing Ben Sherratt to the Canadiens, losing Tyler Myers. Obviously, the Winnipeg Jets and their fan base are pretty nervous here. So obviously, you want to get Laine and Kyle Connor done. That's probably the biggest worry for the Winnipeg Jets right now. So thank you for watching this video. Big shout out to sportingnews.com. Big shout out to Cap Friendly if you see below. The above information is courtesy of Cap Friendly. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts. I think it was just a little bit of an interesting video, just going through it. Not too much of a format, but let me know if you want more videos of this, me kind of going through Cap Friendly or just going through caps, just explaining different contracts. I can definitely do more of that. So let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Drop a like. Comment your thoughts. This was John from Hot Take Hockey. Have a good one. Peace out.